Let's go ahead and get started with today's presentation, which is improved keyword management. So I'm going to spend the bulk of my time actually just showing you around the Mylio preview and some of the things that we can now do with keywords. And I think this is really exciting, especially as somebody who's been in photo management for a very long time. I've had a very sophisticated keyword list in the past, probably more complex than it needs to be. But I've learned over the years some things to make it work really well. And one of the things that I struggled with in Mylio was the fact that we didn't have hierarchical keywords, which means you can take a higher level keyword and nest child keywords underneath it for better organization. So in the Mylio preview and coming later in Mylio this year, we are going to have a brand new keyword manager. And it has got so many features in there. I think it's actually better than anything else that's out there at the moment, at least so far as I can see the functionality we've got built into it today. We've done even a lot of work on it this week, just to make sure that the things that make it the most useful are there for you. So let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at the Mylio preview right now. And you can see it looks somewhat familiar. If you're just tuning in, you haven't seen any of our other preview episodes. Our navigation is here along the left. There are lots of different ways you can customize this. So you can have this collapsed here for a little bit more screen real estate. And for today, I'm going to go ahead and leave that closed because we're not going to be working in the left. We'll be working over here on the right. And you'll see I already have the keywords tab popped open. I'm going to close that just so we can see how to get there from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the info icon here on the right. And you'll notice we have several tabs along the top, and they're represented by different icons. If you want to see what those icons are, of course, you can mouse over it and see the tooltip, or you can always grab this column and make it bigger. And you'll notice that each one of these tabs then turns into text. So that's completely up to you. We're going to focus today on keywords. And you'll notice at the top of this panel, right here next to the title, there's a little menu. So you can customize what sections are available inside this panel. And by default, you're going to have keywords and smart tags turned on. And if you decide to change that and you want to reset it, you can always go here and reset. So that's what we're looking at here. We've got our keyword section, and down here we have smart tags. And this is looking, I'm sure, very much like the keywords and smart tags options you have in Mylio today. So just at this level, it's very simple. This is meant to be your kind of quick area where you go in, you add keywords, you see what keywords an image has, and you work with them at kind of a surface level. And if that's all you want to do with your keywords, that's totally fine. You do not have to go deeper. But for those of you who do want to go deeper, there are a lot of options here. So you can go over here and click on this icon here to manage keywords. And this pops out a new window where you can get a little bit more in depth and see your entire hierarchy. So I can go ahead and scroll through there. You can see some custom ones I've created at the bottom. And if you want to add an entire path, which I'll explain that here in a minute, you can go ahead and select some media and say they're all Milk Falls in Scotland. I can go ahead and select that media and say add path, and it'll add everything in that hierarchy to that image. So that's just one thing you can do from there. So one thing we have here that we've added is the ability to include a starter keyword library. So if you've never keyworded before and you want a series of items that you can apply yourself, or you can have there to apply when you're ready, you can install this sample keyword library or a starter keyword library. It's not really a sample library because once it's there, it's there. And you can remove things that you don't need, but you can go also use those and keep it kind of standardized. So that's an option. And then as I scroll down here, if I go down the list here, and let's pop into some of these. I can go to, let's see, let's find something here, Verona. This I would like to put inside of Italy. So what I can do is I can search my keyword list here at the top and I can see if there's one for Italy. There is not. So let's go ahead and erase that. And I'm going to go ahead and click here and I'm going to type in Italy. We have some options here. You can include synonyms. So maybe I want to include Italia. So the Italian spelling of Italy. And I want to include those on export. I want to export containing keywords, so the parent keywords, and I want to export synonyms. So when you're embedding metadata on an export, these synonyms can also be embedded. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And if we now go down to, I believe here under I, we now have Italy. And you can see there in the smaller text, there's our synonym Italia. So let's go ahead and add something else to go inside of that. So let's go ahead and add Rome. We're going to go ahead and add Rome, if I could spell correctly. And again, maybe we want to put in the Italian spelling. So Roma. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to R. And there's Rome and Roma. I'm going to select that. And I want to, you can either add a sub keyword underneath it. So I can add, say, the Roman Forum or something else. You can add the Colosseum. You can put those underneath that if you want. But in this case, I'm going to take Rome and I'm going to nest it under Italy. So I'm going to go ahead and say move under. And this is a little glitch right here. I've got that already flagged to fixed. But you can go ahead and select the proper one you want to put it underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to Italy. If I can find it here. There we go. There's Italy. It'll ask me to confirm, do I want to move Rome under Italy? Go ahead and move that. And now when I scroll down to the bottom here, I have my Italy parent, and then there's Rome nested underneath it. So you have the ability to create a very sophisticated hierarchy, either customized to fit yourself or use this starter keyword library to standardize what it is you're doing. Personally, I did install this keyword library earlier. It added a bunch of stuff that I would never use. So you don't necessarily need to do that, but that is one way to get started if you want to. So another thing you can do is if you end up with keywords that mean the same things, maybe you have two different spellings, you can go ahead and grab that one and say, wine trip should just actually be part of trips. I can actually merge that into, find trip here, and I can merge that into and even keep wine trip as a synonym of the target. So you can merge two keywords together. This is something that is really cool, and I actually don't think even Lightroom Classic, I don't think Bridge has this. I don't think many others, if any other keyword management tools have this merge. So I think that that is really, really cool. Let me go ahead and open that back up, go back in here into Manage, and let's take a look here. So we talked about merge, we talked about move under, adding a sub keyword. So if you find something that you want to add something underneath, let's go ahead and go down here to California and say under California, I want to add a sub keyword for San Diego. I can go ahead and do that and go ahead and save that. And now that has its own, so there's California and San Diego. So that's how you do that. Once you've created a keyword, if you go, you know what, I have uppercase Scotland and lowercase California. I do recommend picking one or the other for your capitalization. This is kind of a hard thing to do, and you'll probably notice that I've done it myself. I tend to default in my head to uppercase things and do title case, but I find that for keywords, honestly, doing everything lowercase typically works better. So maybe I want to go into Scotland, edit this keyword, and I want to, for visual similarity's sake and for my own simplicity, I want to make that a lowercase. And I can go ahead and hit save. And not only does it just change it here in my list, it goes and it rewrites that keyword across my entire library. So when you're changing and modifying things here in the Global Keyword Manager, it's actually going and taking that across your library. Some other things that are really cool, if you have keywords here that you don't use. So inside the sample library, there's some keywords that I don't find useful. I don't need years because, well, that's part of my image metadata. There's no need to keyword on something that's already part of your metadata. So your camera model, your camera settings, the dates, sometimes even locations. If you've got things that are geotagged already, it may not be necessary to take the time to add keywords for those kinds of things because that information is already searchable in your metadata. So in this instance, I want to get rid of 2022. I'm going to go ahead and click the delete key here. And then we've got this fancy new feature in a lot of different places in Mylio where you can, where we want to minimize people making the mistake of deleting things when they maybe didn't mean to. So we've added a little bit of intentionality here. It does slow you down, but it does make things more intentional. So you tap to hold and you see that little progress bar and then it deletes. So you have to actually keep pressing that hold until that completes. I think it's about 1.5 seconds. So it's not super long, but it does make you think a little bit more before you just click, click, click and accidentally get rid of something that you meant to. Now, something else that's really cool here is all of the steps that you take here are part of what we call the undo stack. So as you're doing different things inside of Mylio, you can Command or Control Z and undo. So you can go ahead, if you do accidentally delete something, you can go ahead and step back that one step. Now, I would not encourage you to do this like 5 or 6 steps back. It's something that immediate undo that's there. There's not something that's going to have a whole history where you can go back and back and back and back infinitely. So keep that in mind. But like, I want to go ahead and yes, I did mean to remove that. So let's go ahead and delete that. And that gets rid of it. I can get rid of this two. I don't know why there's a two as a keyword. Hold to delete, and you can clean those things up. Now, one thing that sometimes might be helpful is being able to see which images are associated with these different keywords. These are not clickable to go interact with the library, but you can do that from library stats. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this window, go over here to the dashboard, and here under library stats, if you scroll down, we have a keyword section. And this actually is clickable. So you can click on this icon and you can do a quick look, you can do a slideshow, you can open it in the library, or even save that as a smart album. In this case, I'm going to want to do open in library, but before I do that, I'm going to show you something even cooler here. And we have this little icon up here to open this in a new window. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and this becomes its own separate window. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this on the left half of my screen, and I'm going to take the main Mylio window and put that on the right. Now, one of the big reasons for having this second window in here and a lot of other places is so you can put things onto a second monitor. But in this case, for a demo, you guys can only see my one display, so I'm going to put them side by side. So I'm here in keywords, and if I go ahead and scroll down, and you know what, maybe I don't need a keyword for in process. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this and say open in library. And that's going to show me those keywords over here. I can then select all of those keywords. I can just do a shift to click one and then click or hold down my shift and then click the last, or do a Command or Control A. And then I can go here, here's in process, and I can remove that keyword from everything. And while I'm here, I'm going to look at this and go, you know what? I don't need that one. There's another date. I know we're in Mylio, so we don't need that. I don't need Sunday. I don't need Monday. These date ones, I just really feel are really unnecessary. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the things that don't describe my images. I've got a bunch selected, so we're just doing a little bit of cleanup as we go through. And that's one way we can do that. So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. Here's one that's just got a keyword of 5. Actually, we've got 10 of them. So before we go ahead and click over here to show these keywords or show these in the library, I'm going to go up here and remove this. So right now we're filtering this window by in process. I'm going to remove that filter. And just to give this a little bit more real estate, close that up. And we can close that up too. Actually, we'll still need that. Never mind. We'll leave that open. Go back to this window. We're going to say open in library. And now again, we've jumped to those images. So now I can do a Command or Control A to select all and open up my keyword tab here and go, okay, I don't need that one. I don't need that one. And show, that indicates that those were for a photo show. So we'll keep that. Trips is good. Australia is good. And now we've cleaned up the keywords on those particular images. So that's another way that you can go about this. And I actually find this to be really super helpful, having the keywords here interacting with the rest of the library. Another thing you can do here is you can sort this list alphabetically. So you can go ahead and have that sorted there, or you can sort it by the count. So you can go, okay, let's sort down and go down to the bottom and see, okay, what keywords am I not really using? What keywords make sense? Now, this is not going to show your hierarchy here. You have to go into the Global Keyword Manager to do that. But this is just another way to go in and clean up and get rid of the things that you don't want. I actually really like this feature to be able to go click here, open in library, see those images, and then be able to work with them in that way. It's one of the many ways you can do it. You can do this also using the filters. You can go into the filter list and filter by a specific keyword. Lots of ways to show that. But this is one way that you can go ahead and I use this for cleanup. To me, this is very focused. And the fact that you can detach this as its own window makes a world of difference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close up that window for now. We're going to go ahead and make Mylio big again. bring that back. And let's see here. What else did I want to show you guys today with regards to keywords? I think we've covered the bulk of it there. There's just a lot of organization you can do within this. Let's take a look here. Oh, I talked briefly about add path, but didn't really explain what that does. So this is really cool. I'm going to go ahead, let me close this up for a second, and I want to select my handful of Scotland pictures here. So those are all Scotland. So from here, you can see all of the different um, keywords that are applied to all of these images. So I want to also add Scotland to all of these. I can go up here into the quick add and I can type in Scotland, and that's going to go ahead and let me apply Scotland to all of those images. One other thing I didn't show you guys. Oh, this is really cool, and I can't believe I almost skipped it. So I'm going to go back over here to my info panel, and we're going to open up that keywords panel. I'm going to select an image, click that keywords manager, and unlock this. Up here in this menu here, we've got some other options. So if there's things that you've keyworded inside of Mylio that haven't popped up here in your global list, you can trigger it to scan your library to pull in anything it might be missing. So we can go ahead and do that. It found 34 new keywords, and those are going to go ahead and pop into the list where they're supposed to go. And then if you have a keyword list that say you built in Lightroom Classic, or you built it in Bridge, or you built it in another application, you can import that list. And again, it will append to the library that already exists, and you can clean it up from there. There's the starter keyword library. And if you want to take the keyword list that you curate here and you want to take it to Bridge, you want to take it to Lightroom, you want to take it to, I think you can do this probably with Capture One or XI or any of these other programs. If you want to export that, you can export your keyword list too. So those are some really cool features for advanced keyword management. Not everybody is going to need those kinds of things, but for those of you who do, having them available in Mylio is really a game changer. So whether you're keywording in Mylio or you're keywording someplace else, the best practice for everything starts with being consistent. Choose a standard format and stick with it. I recommend using singular nouns. So instead of using birds, trees, people, bridges, use bird, tree, person, and bridge. Choose one capitalization style. I prefer for myself to go with the all lowercase, but normal capitalization is fine. Just pick one and be consistent. When you're using hierarchical keywords, group them together in whatever feels most intuitive to you. So you could start with a top level place, then United States, California, San Diego, or trips, Canada, British Columbia, and then so forth. So you can do things like that. A few more things to think about with synonyms. I recommend using them sparingly. You don't have to synonym every single thing, but if you think you're going to search for it, it doesn't hurt to add it in there. So adding, the non-common plurals, so person to people, those are spelled very differently. It's not just appending an S to the end of the word. Because when you search for bird versus birds, if you just type in bird and birds is the keyword, birds will come up, right? So, but if you search person and it's looking for those exact letters, it's not going to find the people keyword. So that's a good example of when you might want to add a synonym. Don't create synonyms for every regular plural though. Also, don't over keyword. When I add keywords to my stuff, I add very basic ones on import. So when I'm importing off my memory card, I'll add a couple of keywords that describe the entire shoot. Beyond that, the only other time that I add keywords is when I'm getting ready to export to share on social media or publish on my blog or do something else with it. So it's usually only a 4 or 5 star image, maybe something that has a pic, but I don't keyword everything. Focus on those best and favorite images and ask yourself, will I ever search for this? Consider how that you think you're going to be searching in 6 months or in 6 years. Keep keywords objective. Describe the image, not your opinion of it. So don't use keywords like beautiful or favorite. Save that for using your 4 star, 5 star, your pick flags, your color labels. There's other metadata things you can apply to indicate your opinion of it. Save keywords for things like fog, sunset, beach, or a place or something like that. And then don't recreate metadata. If that information already exists in your file in another place, for instance, your camera model, the date that it was taken, If you already have GPS information in there, you might not want to add the place as a keyword. Those are all things just for best practices across the board, whether you're using Mylio or something else, some of the things that you can put into practice to make that better for yourself. Again, your feedback is totally shaping this. All of the things that you guys tell me that you like and don't like about this, I will be taking to our product team later today, and we'll see what we can do.